The moment my manager slammed his hand on the table and shouted, "Apologize to my son right now or you're off this project." Something in me went completely still. His voice filled the conference room like a threat that had been rehearsed. Tyler, his son, sat beside him, staring at his shoes as if hiding inside them might save him. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't explain the mistake he made, or the way I had covered for him again and again. I just said one word. Understood. My name is Marina Hale. I am 46 years old, a senior systems analyst at a medical tech firm in Seattle. For almost a decade, I have been the person people call when something goes wrong. I fix what breaks, smooth what cracks, and make sure clients never see the chaos behind the curtain. But none of that mattered to Gregory Ramsey, the man now glaring at me as if I had personally insulted his family name. He leaned forward. "Marina, this attitude ends today." I kept my voice steady. I did not sabotage the report. I corrected it. Tyler flinched. He knew the truth. He also knew he had handed in a compliance draft so flawed it could have cost the company millions. But Gregory needed someone to blame who was not his son, and I had become the safest target. "Apologize," Gregory repeated. "Slower this time, or you are finished here." I felt the room tilt, not from fear, but from clarity. I had spent months absorbing his son's mistakes, rewriting his code, and cleaning up his half-done tasks. I depended on this job. My daughter depended on it. But if staying meant lying for the one person who had done nothing but undermine me, then staying was no longer an option. "Understood," I said again, quieter but firmer. I gathered my notebook, walked out of the room, and closed the door behind me. No one followed. No one spoke. 10 years of work ended in the silence of a hallway. I did not look back. I did not need to. I already knew something inside that company had just snapped the moment I walked away. The confrontation didn't begin in that conference room. It started 3 days earlier, when Tyler dropped a stack of printed reports on my desk and said, "Can you just clean this up? Dad needs it for the compliance review." I skimmed the first page. The numbers were off by more than a little. "Tyler, these projections are missing half the validation steps." He shifted his weight. "Yeah, I know. I was rushing. Just adjust it. Make it look right. Make it look right." I repeated, "Or make it accurate." He rolled his eyes. "Marina, come on. It is not a big deal. Just smooth it out." I pushed the pages back toward him. "I am not rewriting compliance data. If these numbers go to the client, we are looking at fines in the millions." His face paled. "Then fix it. Please." "Fixing," I said, "means redoing it from scratch." I documented the errors, rewrote the calculations, and logged every change under my name. Standard protocol. Nothing dramatic. The next morning, Gregory stormed into my workspace. "What did you do to my son's report?" I looked up slowly. I corrected it. "That is not what he says." Tyler stood behind him, arms crossed, the picture of guilt trying to disguise itself as confidence. Gregory continued. "He claims you altered his work to make him look incompetent." I felt heat rise in my chest. I documented every step. The log is right there. Gregory didn't even glance at it. "You went too far. I followed procedure." I said, "If Tyler had completed the validation, I would not have needed to intervene." Tyler snapped. "I did complete it. You sabotaged me." It was the kind of lie born from panic, not malice. But Gregory seized it like a lifeline. "You created a mess," Gregory said, pointing at me. "And now you expect us to clean it up." I stood. "I expect the truth to matter." Gregory's expression hardened. In that moment, I saw it clearly. He had already decided who he would protect, and it was not the person who saved the company from a multi-million-dollar mistake. Gregory called the emergency meeting less than an hour after our argument. No agenda, no explanation. Just a message that read, "Conference room now, accountability discussion." When I walked in, the entire project team was already seated. Gregory stood at the head of the table, jaw tight. Tyler sat to his right, staring at his laptop as if the screen might swallow him. Gregory didn't waste time. "We are here because one member of this team made an unacceptable decision that jeopardized our compliance review." I kept my eyes steady. "If this is about the report, it is about respect," Gregory snapped, "and professional sabotage." Tyler shifted uncomfortably. A few co-workers exchanged nervous glances. No one spoke. Gregory continued, louder this time. "My son provided you with a completed analysis. Instead of supporting him, you rewrote his work and submitted it behind his back. That is not what happened." I said, "The file had incomplete validations." I corrected them. "The documentation is," he cut me off with a sharp gesture. "Enough. You will not twist this." "I am not twisting anything," I replied. "I followed standard procedure. The timestamps prove it." Tyler finally looked up. His voice wavered. "You made me look incompetent." "I did not make you look incompetent," I said quietly. "The numbers did." A ripple of tension tightened the room. Gregory leaned forward, palms pressed against the table. "You will apologize to my son." "For fixing a critical error," I asked. "For disrespecting him." Gregory shot back. "For undermining his work. For creating a narrative that makes him appear careless." "I did not create anything," I said. "I corrected a mistake that could have cost the company millions." "You think you are untouchable?" Gregory said. "Well, you are not." He looked around the room, daring anyone to challenge him. No one did. Then he turned back to me, eyes cold and absolute. "Apologize to my son," he said. "Or you are off this project." The words settled like a final verdict. 10 years of work, erased in one sentence. And for the first time, I felt something inside me slowly, quietly break. When the meeting ended, no one looked at me. Everyone scattered as if the room itself had become dangerous. Gregory walked out first, Tyler trailing behind him like a shadow trying to disappear. I stayed seated for a moment, letting the silence settle before I finally stood and headed back to my desk. I opened my drawer and began packing the small things that had followed me through a decade of long nights and impossible deadlines. A pen my daughter gave me in middle school, a mug with a chipped handle, a stack of notes I kept only because no one else remembered what those early builds looked like. My screen lit up with a message. "Marina, I agree with you, but please don't mention my name." Then another. "I am sorry you are going through this. I hope you understand I cannot get involved." And another. "You were right. We all know it. Every message said the same thing: I support you, as long as no one sees me doing it." I typed nothing back. There was nothing to say. I slipped my badge into the box. My hands shook not from anger, but from the weight of what came next. I was a single mother. I had a daughter in her second year of college, and tuition payments that felt heavier every month. I had no safety net, no partner to share the risk. Walking away meant stepping into uncertainty so wide it almost swallowed me. But staying meant I would have to lie for people who would never tell the truth for anyone else. And that, somehow, felt even more dangerous. As I carried the box down the hallway, a coworker stepped aside to let me pass. He whispered, "I wish things were different. They are exactly what they are," I said. The elevator ride was silent. When the doors opened, the lobby felt colder than usual. Maybe it was the weather. Maybe it was the realization that I was leaving behind 10 years of work built on a foundation no one wanted to acknowledge. I stepped outside into the Seattle air. It cut sharply against my cheeks. But I kept walking, defeated, yes, but lighter than I expected. And somewhere deep inside, something told me the real storm had only just begun. I was home by late afternoon, sitting at my small kitchen table with a cup of tea cooling between my hands. My daughter had texted me earlier, asking how my day went, and I told her I would call later. I did not want her to hear the tremble in my voice. I kept telling myself that leaving was better than staying, that dignity had to count for something. But fear sat heavy in my chest. Miles away, inside the office I had just walked out of, the cracks began to split open. According to what I learned later, the first call came from Harborview Medical, one of our largest hospital partners. A project coordinator asked for me by name. When Tyler answered instead, she said, "We need Marina. She knows the validation history." Tyler stammered. I can handle it," she replied. "No, we need her." Minutes later, one of the automated data validation scripts failed. It was a critical script I had rewritten 3 months earlier when Tyler's version kept crashing. This time, without my manual override notes, it triggered a chain of errors. Tyler opened the console, tried to fix it, and froze. "Dad, I do not understand this section," he whispered. Gregory snapped. "Just reset it." "Resetting will wipe the logs," Tyler said. Gregory lowered his voice. "Then do not tell anyone you wiped them." While they argued, compliance sent an alert missing documentation for data corrections. The only complete set existed in my personal archive, an archive I had kept because I knew one day someone would pretend they did not need it. By early evening, more calls came in. A second hospital asked for clarification. A third flagged inconsistencies. Everything they asked for was tied to work I had done, explained, and stored. I knew none of this as I sat in my apartment, staring at my untouched tea. I only knew that walking away had cost me everything I thought I needed. But somewhere in that office, the first domino had already fallen, and the people who insisted they could replace me were about to face the truth I left behind. I did not know it then. But while I sat in my apartment trying to steady my breathing, the situation inside the company had reached a breaking point. By the time the sun went down, Ethan Caro, our CEO, had received so many alerts his phone barely stopped vibrating. The first message came from Harborview Medical. "We may need to cancel our contract if the data inconsistencies are not resolved tonight." A second message followed minutes later from a partner clinic. "Where is Marina? She is the only one who understands the correction history." Ethan forwarded the concerns to Gregory. Gregory responded instantly. "Marina sabotaged Tyler's report. We are dealing with the fallout." Tyler added his own message. It was a panicked paragraph of excuses, none of them coherent. "The script failed because she overwrote my work without permission. The logs are confusing. I think she corrupted the files." Ethan replied once. "Send me the documentation," Gregory said. "We are collecting it now," Tyler said. "I just need time." Neither of them sent anything. So Ethan did what he always did when something felt off. He dug on his own. He opened the commit history. He opened the internal logs. He opened the validation folders everyone else avoided because they required real work to understand. Marina Hale, Marina Hale, Marina Hale. Every critical fix, every patch, every emergency override. Her name sat on everything that kept the project alive. Then he checked the timestamps. Gregory's accusation collapsed instantly. She had corrected the numbers hours before Tyler submitted them. She had documented her steps line by line. She had followed protocol exactly. Ethan stared at the screen for a long moment. He had seen neglect before, but not like this. Not a father shielding a son who could not survive 1 hour without the woman they had just forced out. He pulled up the internal directory, found my profile, and hovered his cursor over my contact information. He knew exactly what had happened, and he knew exactly who had just put his entire company at risk. I barely slept. By morning, my head felt heavy, the kind of exhaustion that settles behind your eyes and refuses to move. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, staring at a blank resume template. 10 years condensed into bullet points. 10 years reduced to dates and duties. I tried typing, deleted everything, then tried again. My phone vibrated. An unknown number. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. Then I answered. Marina Hale. A steady voice said, "Yes, this is Ethan Caro." I sat up straighter. "Good morning." There was a pause before he spoke again. "I owe you an apology. What happened yesterday should never have happened." I exhaled slowly. "It is done." "No," he said firmly. "It is not." The board reviewed the incident overnight. We went through every file connected to the compliance project. I waited. "You were right about everything," he continued. "The report, the validation steps, the documentation, all of it." A faint hum filled the silence between us. He went on, "And there is something else. After you left, Tyler attempted to run your validation script without understanding how the override functions worked. His actions triggered a second error that affected multiple partners. I closed my eyes. "I see." "Marina," he said, his voice quieter now. "You carried this project for years. I did not realize the extent of it until last night." Another pause. "We need you back," Ethan said. "Name your conditions." My fingers tightened around the phone. For a moment, no sound left my throat. I had been bracing for unemployment, for interviews, for starting over at nearly 50. I never expected this. When I still did not speak, Ethan added, "I will text you the formal offer. Look it over." Seconds later, my screen lit up. "Please, come back. You have been promoted." The words blurred for a moment as everything I thought I had lost shifted beneath me. I walked back into the building 2 days later, not as the woman they pushed out, but as the new project lead appointed directly by the board. My badge had already been reactivated. Security nodded as if nothing had happened, but the silence around me felt different, alert, uneasy, watchful. Ethan met me outside the conference room. "Everything is ready," he said. "Your authority is documented. Whatever you decide stands." I nodded. "Then let's begin." Inside, the team looked up at me with a mix of relief and guilt. Gregory sat at the far end of the table, shoulders tense, face tight. Tyler sat 2 seats away, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles were white. Ethan spoke first. "Effective immediately. Marina will lead the compliance project. All decisions go through her." Gregory stiffened. "So I report to her now." "You will not be reporting on this project," Ethan said calmly. "You are being reassigned pending review." Gregory opened his mouth, but no words came out. Tyler glanced at him, then at me. "What about me?" I answered before Ethan could. "You will be removed from all client-facing responsibilities until your performance review is complete. You may support internal tasks under supervision." Tyler swallowed hard. "Under supervision." "Yes," I said. "Transparency is not optional anymore." I placed a folder on the table. "These are the standards moving forward. Daily documentation, audit-ready logs, and full validation trails. If something changes, it must be recorded. No exceptions." One of the engineers raised a hand. "Does this include Gregory's previous privileges?" "Yes," I said. "Everyone follows the same rules." Gregory's jaw clenched. "This is excessive." "It is necessary," I replied. Ethan nodded once. "This is the structure the board approved." I looked at the team. Their eyes weren't the same as the day I walked out. There was recognition now of what had been broken and who had held the pieces together for years. None of this felt like revenge. It felt like finally setting the foundation straight. And for the first time in a long time, the room felt honest again. By the end of the week, the investigation was complete. Ethan called me into his office, though the look on his face already told me what I needed to know. "It is finalized," he said. Gregory has been demoted. Abuse of authority, falsifying internal reports, and obstructing compliance procedures. I nodded once. There was nothing to celebrate. It was simply the truth being acknowledged. And Tyler, I asked. He is being reassigned to an entry-level training program, Ethan said. He will work under a supervisor until he demonstrates basic competency. I let out a quiet breath. That is fair, Ethan continued. New ethics guidelines will be implemented starting next quarter. Clear rules. Clear oversight. No more nepotism loopholes. I appreciated that. Not because it brought justice, but because it meant no one else would be cornered the way I had been. When I returned to the project room, the team was waiting. No tension, no fear. Just a group of people finally allowed to work without someone twisting the truth behind them. Marina. One of the engineers said gently, "We are glad you are here." Another added, "Things feel different, better." I opened my laptop and started assigning tasks. The way I always did, calmly, directly, without drama. Chaos slowly folded itself back into order, the way it had for years, only now everyone could see why. Near midday, a new email arrived. Subject acknowledgement, from Harborview Medical. I clicked it open. "We only trusted this project because of you. Thank you for coming back." I stared at the sentence for a long moment. In all my years, no partner had ever put something like that in writing. The room around me kept moving, voices, keyboards, footsteps, but that line stayed still. Not replaceable, not invisible, not the problem. I had been the part of the system they could not afford to lose. And now they finally understood it. I closed the email and returned to my work, steady and unshaken, letting the truth settle exactly where it belonged. In the end, I did not need revenge. The truth handled everything for me. 3 weeks later, the compliance project closed without a single error flag. Our partners signed off, the board issued a formal commendation, and the department finally ran the way it always should have: clean, transparent, steady. I walked through the office one quiet afternoon, checking the final reports. When my daughter called, "Mom," she said, breathless. I heard what happened. "I am proud of you." Her voice caught me off guard. Proud. "You stood up for yourself," she said. "You did not let them twist your integrity. That matters." I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the words settle in a place nothing else had reached. She had been only a child when I started here. She grew up watching me work late, fix problems no one else understood, and carry weight I never asked for. Maybe this was the first time she saw why I had fought to keep my work honest. Later that evening, I passed Gregory's old office. The door was open, the room nearly empty. He stood inside, placing books into a cardboard box with slow, deliberate movements. He glanced up when he sensed me there, but said nothing. No anger, no defense, just the quiet recognition of consequences he had written for himself. Tyler walked by in the hallway a few minutes later. He kept his head down, shoulders hunched, the swagger gone. When he neared me, he muttered, "I am sorry," not loud, not confident, but real. I nodded once and continued walking. Back at my desk, I opened my notebook and wrote a single line across the page. Some endings are loud. Mine was not. It was simple, firm, and earned. I closed the cover gently. The word "understood" had ended one part of my life. Yes, but it had also cleared the path for everything that needed to happen next. When someone demands you apologize just to keep your job, what will you choose, their comfort or your truth?